Okay, so we at this particular point as a fandom have to basically look at GT as it just doesn't work in the timeline if we're looking at Super. Like, I think as a fandom we need to basically accept that GT is either a what if scenario or there just has to be something more to it in order for it to all make sense, because honestly it's just very inconsistent. I mean, alone the thoughts of what we've seen, the capabilities of Goku and Vegeta and the transformations and the introduction to people like Beerus and the gods and stuff like that, the fact that none of that, because obviously it was never created at that point, is relevant in GT or mentioned in GT already makes it look as though like, well, it can't fit, it's inconsistent. But yet again, I was thinking and I thought of another thing that just doesn't really fit in the timeline and is completely contradictory to what we're having in Super and GT. Now, at the end of Z, I believe Pan is 4 years old. She might be 5 because the date of birth or whatever, but I believe she was said to be 4 years old at the end of Z, and I'm pretty sure in the Japanese version, because people have a misconception because of Funimation's dub, I believe they said that it was a 10-year time skip to GT, so everybody assumed that Pan was 14, but in the Japanese version, she's actually 9, so you gotta think for a second, okay, she's 9, and if I'm not mistaken, in GT, Bulla was said to be 11, and then at the end of the series, she's 12 or whatever, so if Bulla was 11 and Pan was 9, then automatically Bulla is supposed to be older than Pan, right? 11 is more than 9, makes sense, right? But apparently, in Super, Bola is yet to be born, and even if she's born, let's just say within the next few episodes, and no spoilers here of what I know is about to happen, ultimately, she could be, at the very least, 1 year or a few months younger than Pan. So essentially, in GT, for everything to make sense, automatically, Bola would have to be, at the very least, Pan's age, a few months younger, or a year younger, something along the lines of that. So Bola would have to be 8 years old in GT, and Pan be 9, but I'm pretty sure it was established in the Japanese version that Pan was 9 and Bulla was 11, although Bulla looked like she was at least like 15 or something like that. She had the outward appearance of a teenager even though she was just about 11 years old, and already that is a huge contradiction. I mean, if you just look at Bulla's character, you gotta think, for it to make sense, let's just say she went in the time chamber, and that's the only way I think logically they could connect the dots, whether it's Vegeta takes her to the time chamber to train or something like that, which I don't see that happening at all, but that's something that could make sense as to why she in GT is supposed to be 11 years old, but she's actually only like 8 or whatever, because she's again younger than Pan. That's one way they could connect the dots, but honestly it's just kind of like, yeah, another big inconsistency with the ages, because again, Pan is supposed to be 9 and technically Bulla is supposed to be like 8 or 9, and you gotta think, wait a minute, if Bulla is actually 8 years old, why the fuck are they allowing her to dress like that, and why do you got like 20-year-old fucking pedophiles hitting on her in GT as well? Like, y'all remember that scene when Vegeta's driving and he rips out their fucking steering wheel and shit like that? Like, it's just all a big mess with that as well. So I thought of this and I was like, this is another reason why GT can't fit in the timeline, or Super can't fit in the timeline, depending on what you're going for. Like, personally, I think, considering the fact that Toriyama really had little to no involvement with GT other than doing some character designs and things like that, at this point we can almost look at GT as a what if story. I mean, I know Toei technically doesn't want to completely get rid of it or whatever, but the fact that they've made so many inconsistencies, and basically, you know, in GT they're considering Kid Buu as if he was like the last really credible threat. I remember even in the General Rildo fight, which I don't know what his Japanese name is, but in the General Rildo fight, Goku says, man, I haven't had a good fight like this since Buu. But what? Unless Buu came back right before GT and had another big brawl and he was even stronger, whatever, it wouldn't make sense, because the beginning of Dragon Ball Super and of course Battle of Gods, you know, Beerus alone showing up and Goku having that transformation to Super Saiyan God already contradicts everything about GT, because one, it was never even mentioned, nothing about that was mentioned, you know, Beerus or anything, because again, it wasn't created at that time. So I honestly feel as though GT is essentially completely at this point incapable of being connected, at the very least because of Super. Now, let me know what you guys think about this. Do you feel as though, like, are you one of those people to begin with that was like, fuck GT, it doesn't matter anyways? Also, what do you think about this? Is there any way they could truly connect all of these dots? Like, the only way I could see some of this actually making sense is if one, time reversal and makes it that Super never actually happened, which would be absolutely fucking horrible, I'd hate it. Or two, maybe there was a wish to the dragon to forget everything about the gods, because mortals aren't supposed to know about the gods, and of course the whole thing with Bulla, the inconsistency there, you could argue that maybe she went to the time chamber, but again, it's just really sloppy. It doesn't make sense. So I'm kind of curious you guys' opinion on that. Do you think that there's any way at this point that GT could still be considered canon, or is it that you look at GT as more canon than Super? I mean, Super has Toriyama involved. Like, majority of these arcs, if not all of them, are based on original drafts by Toriyama, so how would you put GT that he only did character designs as more canon? So that's kind of a question in and of itself for a different, video, different topic or whatever. But again, your overall thoughts of this. What do you think about Bulla? Essentially, if things are supposed to play as canon, she was actually supposed to be 8 years old in GT, and she looks like that, and she's having 20-year-old, like, what the fuck is going on? But that's all I have for this quick one. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you want more from me, make sure to subscribe, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and stalk my Facebook to get more when the video ends. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day.